Number 8 on our list of top New Mexico stories in 2014 is water. There are so many stories about water that we could focus on. And this year we follow the impact of the ongoing drought in New Mexico, certainly, and debates over proposed water projects such as the possible diversion on the Gila. There are also controversial copper rules that passed this year and arguments over adding fluoride to the water. It just goes on. And Gwyneth, I got to ask you, which story for you jumped out for water this year? Which was the biggest of the list?
Well, I love the fluoride story. I'm not sure it's the most important, but I think it's really representative of a lot of the kinds of issues that we see happening in politics today, where you take something that was never really controversial before, but now that we have the internet and we can all go tapping around, there are all of these conspiracy theory websites, and it's really hard
about fluoride,
and everything else in the world, you know, microwave rays and things like that. But the problem is that it's really hard for people when they go online to try and find information to figure out what is real, what's accurate, what's got scientific proof behind it, and what doesn't. So the paranoia and fear and confusion is just persistent. And that's really bad, a really tough element of the issue about fluoride, which I think the Bernalillo County, Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority was not expecting.
Right. In fact, there was a fluoride dust up in Rio Rancho either this past year or the year before. I can't remember exactly. But
it's happening in communities
everywhere,
all across
right?
the country
Exactly.
where, you know, we've been fluoridating in this country for 70 years.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden it's politically very, very difficult to do anything about, get any movement in any way.
That's a good point. Patrick, for you, water this year, I want to make sure we cover a lot of different types of water issues. What stood out for you this year in 2014?
Well, really sort of where we fit into the legacy of water in the West, which is a fascinating and, you know, mind-twisting subject. And I think we're looking at two junctures that are pretty critical for the historical future, really, of water here, and that's the Gila diversion. You know, you build a dam, nobody tears it down. Right. The other being the Texas lawsuit involving the Rio Grande. These are things that have been going on since, in some cases, at least a discussion of the Texas suit since before I was born, and will be going on long after I'm dead. And these are the kind of things that when we write about where we are with these in 2014, with really a more engaged society about these kind of things, when we look at the large protests, the outpouring of public comment that happened at the Gila diversion hearings, you're seeing people more engaged with water, and water used to be something that would get on the front page and you'd almost get past it. But I think we're seeing a more active citizenry when it comes to water concerns and really the environmental concerns that come down the road with these. We aren't just looking at them for what they do for us perhaps in one summer drought.
Good point. It's a good time to note the work of Laura Paskus, by the way, and one of our colleagues doing great stuff on water for here in New Mexico, certainly. Russell, again, for water, what stood out for you when you reported on this?
We had some good extreme weather. We actually had some good news this year of us helping get out of extreme and severe drought. You saw spots in New Mexico, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, that weren't as dark and red and blackened as it showed. We still have problems in our northwest area. I think that weather helped. And it may have given the false notion that we're okay, we're out of the drought fear. No, that's not. We're going to have consistent rain to stay safe. So that right there was good news. But I think the discussion began about what we should do with our infrastructure. I mean, with the Ute pipeline coming up, that proposal's there, and then I think lawmakers are starting to see that we are losing federal dollars for some of these water projects because local communities don't want to raise water rates to help match and raise funds for those dollars. So we're going to have some very brave people come forward and finally saying, we're going to need some infrastructure fixes to fix our aging pipelines. If we do not, we're going to be in a crisis situation.
I'm going to bet you the business community is going to be strong on that one, too.
Very much so. Water really is one of the biggest limiting factors for us here on economic development and what we can do. I really liked the point about this being a year where people got really engaged in water discussions, and I think that may be one reason why, because figuring it out is so essential to moving forward for New Mexico.
And on that moving forward, we're trying, the mayor, others are trying to plot out our future, literally the next 20 years or so, and it's great. And where does water come into that discussion? Because it's hard to predict where we're going to be. We don't know what's going to happen to the aquifer. We don't know how big the aquifer really is to plan out 20, 40, 50, 70 years or so. The sense of the business community about being able to plan way out ahead, what's your sense of that?
For New Mexico, my sense is that the feeling is, or for Albuquerque rather, the feeling is that we're in fairly decent shape for now. There will be times in the future where we have to have big discussions like we did with San Juan Chama in order to move forward.
Yeah, I could see that. Now let's move on to number 7 on our list, funding for mental health services and the continued fallout over the behavioral health investigation that started last year. We've seen a lot of controversy over the Arizona firms that stepped in to take over those operations after allegations of Medicaid fraud, and then after the re-election of Governor Susana Martinez. Human Services Secretary Cynthia Squire announced she would step down. And Patrick, why did this make your top 10 list for 2014? What grabbed you about this one?
Well, for one thing, there's so many unanswered questions that I think a lot of New Mexicans believe as long as Secretary Squire was around, we wouldn't hear the answers to. The question becomes now, does she become something of a scapegoat? Do we really even find out whether any fraud was committed by these 15 entities that have been removed? The Arizona Republic jumped on this story just this week, and they're reporting that there's some consternation in Arizona as well, saying that at least 4 of the 5 Arizona firms that have come to New Mexico are now reliant on their parent companies because they're not making it. Wow. They've had to take out loans. It's threatening care in that state where actually, unlike here, they've actually cut funding to mental health for the indigent here. And I think really the untold story, and I'm guilty in part of that because we've looked at the institutional potential questions, the big money that was spent, the subsidies, the throwing under the bus, if you will, of these original providers. But there's still a story to be told about the human toll here. And a lot of people have been affected by this. And my biggest fear is that front page story comes out about someone who was failed by this and that goes tragically, horribly wrong.
Right, exactly right. And when you have these kind of numbers, folks who are relying on their providers, relying on their caseworkers, relying on their social workers to get through the week, the day, the month, whatever the case may be, disruption's not a good thing for folks who are in this position at all. And now we know a little bit more of the fallout. Your sense of it looking back now.
Yeah, well, I think mental health is still deeply stigmatized in this country. And part of the hard part of telling these stories is who wants to stand up and say, I want to kill myself because I can't get my meds. This is not something that people want to talk about. It's hard for them to, get out there and be really open about it. So there are a lot of untold stories about the impact on people, and I think we all need to do more work on it. Right,
and of course the chase to get this information down originally, Russell, was quite the thing for the press this year. Just the how did this come about angle it was difficult, wasn't it? And we never got to the bottom of it, did we?
Right. I mean, there were the argument that the state government as well, this is a federal investigation, so forth. So you had, and then it became a political fight. The Dems against the Republicans. And as a reporter, you're going like, well, I just want to know about what is the story about, and then looking, okay, who's this affecting? I think it also generated a lot of interest with the Boyd shooting. When after the Boyd shooting, we started looking about our facilities overall. And what we came to realize, I think, and be reminded, is that we don't have a Kendra's Law here. And Mary Kay Papen, the Senate Pro Tem, is pushing that. Right. Will that get passed here? I think you see now Republicans really saying, come on, guys, it's time. We're one of 5 states in this country that don't have it. And we may see this push. There's still some resistance.
Just real quick, just a recap of what Kendra's Law encompasses.
Kendra's Law is a law named after a woman in New York that will allow someone who's not taking their medicine to get a court-enforced orderment to get some sort of treatment, outpatient treatment.
And it's been a huge controversy here for a long time. A lot of folks want that, and a lot of folks, Rachel Sams, they don't. It's a difficulty, certainly. But then also there's other angles to this too, it seems to me. What jumped out at you on this particular issue? There's so much to it.
I was thinking about actually the same thing, the issue of the human toll of this story and the stories that we aren't hearing, because there is also a very important story to pursue about how we got here, what information led us here, the institutional side of it. That's important to get, but we definitely shouldn't ignore those human stories
Absolutely. And part of this also is, we can have an image of who we think has mental illness or not, but a reminder, we had a situation at MCOR, we had a situation in other places around town where it wasn't just about cops up against a guy in Central in an alley or something. It can happen anywhere. And so that really, to me, was part of the wake up of all this too, the MCOR situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Professionals and happens everywhere.
Yeah. Let me go back to what Patrick was mentioning as well, the idea of no bid contracts, Gwyneth, and the idea of how this all came about. What do we know now looking back, and is there something the press could have maybe perhaps done a little bit differently in the reporting in the origin of this? Do you have a sense of that?
I think I've done a little bit of behavioral health reporting in the past, and it's really easy to get sucked down into documents that make no sense to anyone. And you have a hard time just trying to figure out what's what, and there is a lot of there is a certain lack of transparency in these documents. We have trouble getting documents when we privatize things because they fall in a little bit of a gray area of IPRA when we're talking about private companies, and especially in the contracting process. There are still things that we don't have access to that we probably should. And I've been talking to lawmakers this week about changes in transparency laws that they're going to be proposing for next year, and I think we're going to see some efforts to address that.
Interesting. Coming up, we talk about the Albuquerque Police Department, mental health, and what reform around this issue might look like.